Protecting Benfleet, the bunker and the barrier. This film shows some pictures of two major structures which protect Benfleet. They are the bunker, from which all major disaster incidents in southeast Essex are controlled, and the Benfleet Flood Barrier, which with its counterpart, the East Haven Barrier, protects Canvey Island and low-lying areas of Benfleet such as Hopes Green. The bunker, or its proper name, the Emergency Planning and Control Centre, is built underneath the Castle Point Council offices in Kiln Road. Plans were drawn up in the late 1980s to extend and adapt the Benfleet offices to be the council offices for the area. However, as the Cold War was still on, the government required a command, control and emergency planning bunker to be built as part of the rebuild. The Benfleet Community Archive were invited to visit the bunker in August 2010. We arrived at the council offices and were let through a small door and down some steep steps into the bunker. We entered the bunker through some substantial blast doors, which, while not being able to take a direct hit, would give considerable protection against any major blasts. The original design was for it to be a 30-day nuclear-proof control and command centre, and it is the last nuclear bunker built in the UK. When we came through the doors, we entered the smaller control room. In this picture, the view is of the entrance to the bunker. The control room looks very bare, but it has the cables and power supplies to support the communications necessary in an emergency, including some Cold War era teletypes. The bunker has mobile phone repeater stations built in to allow its occupants to use their phones. The room can be up and operational in 20 minutes, with council staff running the operation and setting it up with laptops and phones. At the other end of the small control room is a doorway into the main control room. This is a large conference room with maps and communications around the walls. This is where the senior officers for the various emergency services, police, fire, ambulance, etc., would meet to coordinate and control the response to a major incident. This is what the room is used for today on occasions when major fires, floods or similar emergencies occur. On the far side of this room is the doors of living quarters and technical rooms for the nuclear bunker. These are not used, but are maintained in case they are ever needed. The sleeping area has 12 beds arranged as bunk beds, along with personal lockers and other furniture. This room is currently used as a storage room. Moving along the passage, we come to other rooms, such as the loo, and further along we come to the kitchen, complete with recycling bags. Moving on further, we come to the plant room. In here there is an emergency generator complete with fuel tanks which can keep the bunker going. And here we have the air pump. This is operated by people in the bunker to pump air into it if all else fails. It is very hard work. These Cold War precautions are unlikely ever to be used, but the bunker is still the emergency planning control centre for this part of Essex. The emergencies include the Thames when exceptional tides and weather occur. Indeed, a permanent instrument in the centre is a tide clock, as exceptional tides are something which affects the borough, including parts of Benfleet. Fortunately, we have the flood barriers to control this. The Benfleet Flood Barrier forms part of the sea defences protecting Canvey and low-lying areas of Benfleet, such as Hopes Green. The flood defences mainly consist of a raised sea wall, but in this part of the creek it was considered a better solution to build barriers at each end of it, the East Haven Flood Barrier and the Benfleet Flood Barrier. Planning for the barriers was started in 1972 and was part of the scheme to raise the Canvey seawall and build the Thames Barrier. The intention was to take the flood protection up to a once-in-a-thousand-year standard. Building work started on the barrier in 1979 and was completed in 1983 at a cost of £12 million. It was opened by the Treasury Secretary John Wakeham MP on the 25th of February 1983. On 9th of March 2011, the public were given an opportunity to inspect the Benfleet Barrier and see it in action. The Benfleet Community Archive took advantage of this opportunity to record the information for the community. The barrier is 90 metres wide and 10 metres high. It has 3 openings, each 13 metres wide. Each opening contains a top hinge flap gate weighing 30 tonnes. This means the gates are raised up when we have normal tides, but are lowered when the tide is predicted to be greater than 3.4 metres at Southend. The barrier is designed to ensure that the gates can be lowered under all circumstances to ensure the safety of the borough. The open day visit was conducted by the two team leaders responsible for the day-to-day operation of the barrier. On the left is Pete Downs, who is the field team leader for Thameside, and on his right is colleague Gerald Emwell, who is the Specialist Operations Delivery Mechanical and Electrical team leader for Essex. Our visit started by looking down the long operation corridor, which contains 3 identical sections, one for each gate. Each section contains heavy lifting gear, which lowers and raises the gates by chains. We entered the control room midway along the corridor, where Gerald explained the control panel to us. At the end of the corridor, we were shown the pair of Lister diesel engines which drive the hydraulic system, which powers the winches which raise and lower the gates. Either engine is capable of operating the entire barrier. One of the engines was then started. At the first barrier section, Pete Downs pushed a valve which started the lowering of the barrier.
Briefly silent operation parts of the top of the bank.
The barrier was then completely lowered. It was then raised again. Our thanks to the Environment Agency, and particularly Pete and Gerald, for giving us insight into how the barrier works. The bunker and the barrier combined, with the people who run them, ensure the safety of our barrow.